The following episode of the Carnival of Randomness is sponsored by an important message to you, the people, from Upsitnik and Associates. Every day there are forces that are taking from you, stealing from you. Your money, your time, your freedom. Immense faceless corporations, banks, credit card companies, insurance providers, government agencies, this list goes on and on. When you are under attack and facing crisis, turn to us, Upsitnik and Associates, attorneys for you, the people. When every day becomes a battle, we can advise and assist. We have been advocates for 40 years. Email us through upsitnikslaw.com or call us at 1-866-391-3299 or reach out to us through Upsitnik and Associates on Facebook for a prompt, no obligation communication and consultation. Don't be pushed around.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carnival of Randomness. Last night I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got in my pajamas, I do not know. And that's fitting, huh, Zach?
Well, what was the other one? It's like I shot a moose, I shot an elk, and I couldn't find a Knights of Columbus.
And we're hanging around an old opera house because we have another talking shit. And with this is Greg.
Hi.
Patrick.
Hello.
And you never know what phantom might drop in or might not. But I was going to ask a question to start this one off. This is like a James Lipton thing. Somebody comes to cast you in a film, says you're perfect for the part. What do you think they want you for? You're a ringer, Patrick, because you got.
Oh, for me, it would be bloated corpse number 2.
Large person. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, ominous voiced, large person.
Yeah. Or the silent heavy for me.
Blank background person.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be the romantic lead.
I always think like it's like this tragedy with somebody who has dragons, and it's like her best friend who loves her, and he just never. But actually, the one I've been told tons of times is like sidekick in some indie movie.
Yeah.
Like the weird sidekick, like the guy, they're like the best friend of the female lead, like in Frances Ha or something like that. But one thing we're going to talk about, Greg, you brought this up, sci-fi tropes.
Sci-fi tropes, yeah.
Just good old movie tropes. There's
I grew weary of this game, human. That kind of
stuff. Yeah.
Well, why do you think they're still around? I mean, they, at some point, way back when, somebody had to say, all right, this is going to be brilliant, but now everybody uses it. Is it just because it's like a classic, or do you think they just literally can't think of anything better to say?
Yeah. A trope, I think, is something that is used often because it's either easy or expected, but it should serve some kind of purpose.
Or is it a hook, though, just to sell that where you get the line, it's something get you. It's like, I'll be back.
Yeah. Well, that's how. Yeah. Then things become that. Like
taglines and catchphrases. I mean, I noticed a lot of that with a lot of these modern TV shows. Like the Arrow and all that whole series of things. All these pop culture references and all the.
Yep.
A lot of. Well, I don't really mean it that way. I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, it's like all this kind of like, it's supposed to be funny, but
it reminds me of, because I've actually been going through the CW shows from last year, because I'm always a year behind. I'm just finishing up Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow especially. It reminds me a little bit of Joss Whedon Buffy, because there's always some of those pop culture references that us types will get, probably nobody else will, but they're all filled with them.
Yeah, I think pop culture references is a thing that's become an easy humor.
Robert Downey Jr. does it. Like I recognize, in the Avengers when he said "Hi Reindeer Games," the old horrible movie with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I think actually, I would say pop culture's become a trope in and of itself.
Right, it's an easy writing technique. Yeah. I think it's just it's a default.
It's like, hey, this thing happened 2 years ago. Let's reference it. Oh, okay.
Right.
And, some stuff comes up by accident. One of the most famous scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark with the whip battle with the gun, that was because Harrison Ford did the flu.
Yeah, I was going to say he was, or like they, in A Clockwork Orange when, was it Roddy or Malcolm McDowell?
Malcolm
McDowell, when he's beating the hell out of the guy and he's singing in the rain. I guess he said he picked that song because that was the only one he knew all the words to.
Because actually, the book...
Like, okay, and it worked.
I've read the Anthony Burgess book, part of it, and he sort of based the language on Russian.
Yeah.
But then there's the irony there with Beethoven, of course, when they do it's a scary book, too, because the idea is you have to have people like Alec in the society. If you're going to have a free society, you can't do the thought control.
True.
But it's not really a hero. Definitely, he's not a hero.
No. I think that I think now we start to get caught up in movies about anti-heroes and what that means, or not even anti-heroes, but a protagonist of the movie who is not a good person or a sympathetic person, like, you know.
Oh, he definitely isn't.
Yeah.
But the thing was, then what I would see is I would see Warren Clark, Dim, would pop up in everything in English. And I'd look close, like he's in Deal and Pascal, but he'd be in movies, and I go, it's Dim!
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it kind of just looks back to, I think writing has really kind of tanked the past couple of years, because back in the old days you would have some, amazing writing, but is it just kind of slipping and they're relying too much more on,
for a
like,
second
star
on
power?
that to just go back to, we mentioned this before a little, but the Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola thing where they're blasting all these comic movies now.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there something to it or not, or is it more just...
This is not a new thing. This is I guarantee you, if you go back in time to when Taxi Driver came out or The Godfather came out, there were probably some old Hollywood people like, why do these movies have to be so violent?
Well,
Why
one
do
of
they
the
have to be
things
so
I read,
profanity?
absolutely.
I read a book, actually.
It's just...
It was a film critic, and I guess realism, really, Marty was thought of as being realism in the 50s, because you had the story not of a romantic lead, but sort
Right.
of homely people who find each other. But this critic made the observation that he didn't really like movies in the 70s. This is his opinion, not mine, because they dared to be realistic, and he thought it should be escapist fare, where they had the more gritty, like all the actors in the 70s, like Taxi Driver, Mean Streets... Friends of Eddie Coyle, which is a favorite of mine.
I think a lot of that 70s stuff, they were kind of rediscovering the film noir. So they were kind of going back to those old, the detective movie, where guys were getting beat up left and right. And
well, that's the one.
Nobody had any compassion.
Have
Everybody
you seen
was a
Friends
dick,
of Eddie Coyle? It's
Yeah.
a favorite of mine. And actually, it's a favorite of Quentin Tarantino's because one of the main villains in it's named Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
And it's about basically real thieves. Like, he's a small-time thief, and it shows these people are not glorified. It's pretty scummy. They turn on each other.
Well, it's like going back to that idea of the movie centering around people who aren't heroic, and it's something it's character studies or looks at cultures that most people don't get to see, and that's escapism in its own way. Watching a crime movie is, unless you really are, the member of a crime family or,
Well, supposedly what I've heard
it's still
is
escapism.
mobsters started dressing that way because they saw The Godfather.
Well, yeah, no, that whole thing, the guys who kind of were at the head of the mob kind of falling apart, like Gotti and those guys, they loved these movies so much that they started changing their style, and the old timers weren't
There's
happy
another
with
one
it.
called, it's a John Huston film called Fat City, and this is one of those films, Rocky it is not, because it's about an aging boxer and a young boxer. It's Stacy Keach and Jeff Bridges, and you think the idea is going to be he's going to train him,
Yeah.
but it turns out the aging boxer has one comeback fight, he wins, he's so punch drunk, he doesn't even know he wins. The young boxer, Ernie Munger, gets knocked out the first couple fights, just ends up quitting. And it's the realistic idea of boxing. It's more realism.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like that glitz and glamour, because I think there's a lot of those in the 30s because people were in the Depression and they wanted to see something else.
Well, that's what it is. I think it's good to see movies now without a happy ending. Not everything has to come up roses for everybody.
Well, some people, when there's some characters that deserve a happy ending and they get screwed.
No, but I mean, like, it's like the
and
old...
they try to warn the citizens to get out there because
it's like the old slasher movies, Not everybody had to live.
Yeah.
It was okay for everybody to die.
There wasn't always a final girl in those movies. There wasn't always...
the virginal, pure of heart girl who always survives. Why?
A trope. It's a trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those movies became tropey.
But do you get sick of it though? With the you use the Shyamalan line, the twist where it has to be at the end. Okay, I'm safe. Oh, he popped up again. Or you get sick of that kind of where it's the end but not the end.
Well, the problem with that is the thing about it. If the twists work when they're rare. If you have a guy whose every movie has a twist in it, then it's not going to work. It's not. It's there's
It's like
you know what it is. You get to the point where okay, I know it's not over.
Right.
But there's always the one guy that gets killed, and you're like, good, I'm glad he got killed. He was an asshole.
Exactly. And that goes back to my the horror movie theory I have, the pattern. It's like, number one person that dies is always the jock
Well, we had one right here. My good friend Liz and I, we don't see each other very much because he's very busy being a nurse. And we actually had a movie night. So we finally watched Halloween from last year. So we're watching it. At the beginning, they have the two kids in high school. Then they have the friend who's sort of like a little chubby and a joker. I look at him and I go, dead.
Yeah, number 3. The jovial fat guy is always number 3.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, in terms of one move thing I was going to talk about too is in terms of disturbing. I know Greg and I were actually talking about this off the show. Todd Browning's film Freak still, it freaks me out. In a lot of ways, I remember seeing it in comic books that it was banned for years. But there's the idea, it's like that old campfire story of you hear the story and everybody in there was real.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think that I think at the end of the day, people were afraid of looking at people who
were that different.
Yeah. and they they didn't want to think about what probably pretty rough.
And I think the X-Files episode Humbug was based almost on that.
I think
that was a real town in Florida where all of them lived.
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that.
Well, and for those who may have not seen Freaks or heard of Freaks, it was 1930?
1930. It was called Spurs.
I think.
It got banned for years, and they did a recut where they do a thing about sympathetic.
Yeah.
They came back out, but it's almost like a
focus
story
on a bunch of carnival sideshow
where there's somebody talking at the carnival, and then they tell the story, and I guess actually the midget in there, I guess was a real asshole. I guess he was real pompous.
Oh, wasn't it Tom Thumb?
No, it was this other little guy who, I don't know his name, but he was in a lot of Todd Browning's films. And Browning's got a weird obsession, like with deformities. And I know, Greg, you were talking about the one where the arms get ripped off.
Yeah, the Lon Chaney Sr. one. It's a silent one. Where he's a knife thrower in a circus, and he likes this. Was she an aerialist or something? And so he's fallen for. I'm not sure what. I forgot the reason why, but
she's cute. She's in the circus.
He figures that to get sympathy, I don't know. He has his arms. He has himself strapped to these two horses, like going opposite ways, like on a treadmills or something, and he has his arms ripped off.
The idea being,
and then it's really bizarre.
This is what happens. The idea is that she's afraid of strong men. She says something about this, so he has his arms ripped off and amputated. Then she falls for the strong man.
Yeah. The ultimate twist irony. See, that was when the twist works.
But it was horrifying, and then there's laugh cut. Like there's just. What do you think of those silent movies?
I think that silent movies are, they had to work on a completely different level because, you had the acting had to be very, very stylized, and it's all physical.
A little
everything with your face.
Too,
well, yeah, they had to.
Oh, yeah.
You had to see the emotions. So they had, the makeup had to be very extreme.
And I guess
some of those are really the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen that one with all the Art Deco, or not the German Expressionism, crooked buildings,
Metropolis.
angles, and all
Metropolis, Nosferatu. I mean, because whenever they do something, it's the overly dramatic.
And see, Nosferatu, I think if I'm right, they couldn't get the rights to Dracula, so they just
because at the
they
time
just copied the story and gave him a different name.
Yeah, Bram Stoker's widow was still alive.
Yeah.
In 1921 or whenever they made Nosferatu, so they couldn't get the rights, so they called him Count Orlok.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically the same story. They just changed the names of everyone.
And if talking about, actually, I'm thinking of Carnival films, because has anybody seen Nightmare Alley?
Yeah.
No.
It's about Tyrone Power. You would. It's about Tyrone Power. He starts doing carny scams, but I guess it backfires on him then.
He's like in a cage or something. Yeah. He's like the caged wild guy or something.
He does these fake seances, but then it turns on him and everything.
I gotta watch that again.
I was just thinking about
weirdly enough, like on one of our previous episodes, it may or may not have aired, when I said I'd never seen a John Wayne movie. I've never actually seen Tyrone Power in anything.
Oh, he's great.
Like, I know who he is. I've just never seen him in anything.
He was in a Zorro flick. He did, I think.
I watched it last
Mark
year.
Of Zorro type thing.
Mask of Zorro and Mark of Zorro. I know one of them caused us to have Batman because Thomas Wayne's parents were killed.
He was in a bunch of the pirate type stuff and
like the old swashbuckler days.
Yeah.
And to jump around a little, is anybody following the CW shows this year or last year?
I haven't watched them this year. I haven't watched them this year. I usually I don't have cable, so usually do is they all when the seasons end, they all drop on Netflix.
Right.
See, what I do is I watch them in the summer. I'm a season behind. I guess it's the last season.
Yeah, last season I've seen.
You have a favorite, Greg? Out of them,
show
CW, out of all of them,
Arrow probably because it's the least.
Superhero-y.
No, well, it's the least. They don't try so hard to be poppy.
Well, he's
cultural.
a dick.
Like the Flash. I like the Flash too, but they get so all this sci-fi talk and all this tech talk that they do on the Flash. After a while, it's kind of like it's kind of too wordy. For me.
I call Legend of Tomorrow their version of Doctor Who, especially because they had Rory was the captain.
I like Legends,
but I thought this season, the last season, got really goofy by the end.
Well, Legends are the thing is that Legends.
But they had a dragon in it last season.
I know.
They had a dragon egg, and they should have had
This is
somebody...
never going to stop. This is never going to stop. Exactly.
Dragon.
But I thought it got really... But, I mean, how could I say that when the villain got crushed by a giant stuffed panda in the previous season?
In like season 2 or 3, they realized that the show couldn't be serious. It had to be silly, so they just leaned into the silly. And that's really their very silly show, and because they have a bunch of they're all for the most part like D-list superheroes who the whole point of them was they were all pulled together because they weren't really important.
Right.
we can send you through time because you are never really going to be.
Brandon Roth, dude, you're not going to be Superman. Now you're the Atom.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite, probably Supergirl.
Yeah,
I think she's perfect. I think Melissa Benoit is perfect as a character.
It's a good show. I like, and the CG is, all the effects are really really good, and the flying, all that stuff. It's pretty.
But I'm just finishing that up, and you should have seen it Legends Tomorrow. Oh, they got a dragon egg, please.
The problem I have with it is I'm just getting burnt out by all this comic shit.
But has anybody seen the Doom Patrol or New Titans and stuff?
I haven't.
I've heard my friend Mike who. Eventually be on it. He really likes it. Mikey's like the kicks kid about comic shows. He don't like it if Mikey likes it.
The problem is everything is on now. Everything is on its own streaming service now.
Yeah.
So unless you're gonna sign up for 12 million streaming services, you're not gonna see everything.
Yeah,
I get them out of the library and then just watch.
Yeah, you have to have cable and you have to have Netflix and you have to have Amazon.
They're a la carting us to death.
Oh my god.
But going back for a minute. You all know the story about Nosferatu with the Max Schreck and the Batman Returns and
yeah.
Okay.
I think he looked like Ric Flair.
Kind of.
No, I think Christopher Walken looked like Ric Flair
in Batman Returns.
He kind of did.
Yeah. Well,
I guess the story goes Michael Keaton quick because he's like, "What the heck? I'm on screen for 20 minutes."
Yeah, well, it got to be the movies weren't about Batman
and because he quit, we had to have Val Kilmer. So thank you, Michael Keaton.
There's somebody out there, I guarantee, because I actually got into somebody when I was walking my dog randomly in the park. This guy starts talking to me randomly, and he tried to make the case that Ringo Starr was. Being interrupted. Alarm! This is why we're the Carnival of Randomness. But somebody tried to make the case to me. And we're being interrupted. No.
Sorry.
Copyright
You musicians.
That was unknown anyway. I don't want to talk to you,
Probably
unknown.
selling a bag of Doritos and interrupting the show.
Hey, let's write something called The Unknown Caller.
No, what we're going to do, when people called us, we were just going to pick it up and talk online. Talk about what we're doing this. But somebody tried to make the case to me when I was walking my dog one time that the only talented good Beatle is Ringo Starr. So there's somebody out there who says Val Kilmer was the best Batman.
And again, there's the same thing. It's like somewhere out there is the worst doctor in the world, and people go to him. So yeah, I mean, there's no, in my opinion, which is mine, and you're welcome to share with it and welcome to hate it. Val Kilmer should never have been.
Well, one of my views is always something different. I thought the worst traitor in history was Benedict Arthur until Jon Snow came along. But there's somebody will make the case with you. Somebody will make the case that Val Kilmer was the best. was the best Batman.
Oh,
I guarantee
absolutely.
it.
And if they can have a good argument, all for it.
So I'm gonna do that. Anybody wants to chime in on who their favorite is? I'm gonna say Adam West, because for what he did, he knew what he was doing, and he played the character the way they wanted to play
Right.
it.
I mean, and don't forget, he's the one that basically saved Batman. You have to give Adam West credit for saving Batman and creating Batman now.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
because they took it from that dark, gritty detective story in the comics that people didn't want to see to that goofy, feel-good
Well, that's
camp.
what the comic was at the time.
Yeah, that's
the
the
comic
thing.
was goofy at the time.
If you looked at 60s Batman comics, it was Rainbow Batman and Batman Underwater.
Batmite.
The Bat-Tusi
and you
all
know,
that shit.
that's what they had to draw on. And that's why I think, because I've seen interviews with that producer, with William Dozier, and he goes, at first, I wanted to do this kind of as an adventure thing, but he started looking at the comics, and he goes, the only way to do this was to overdo it.
And it was perfect.
He
Grant
said
Morrison, when he wrote Batman R.I.P., the story, his idea was he had the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, who was an alternative emergency personality, because he was trying to explain all those weird 1950s stories where he's on another planet.
Right.
I think the biggest mistake you could make is try to explain things. Try to explain, because, well, okay, if you're going to explain things, then explain how he isn't 150 years old. You know,
That's one of my things about-
That's a fair
Have you
point.
ever done that where, okay, they screwed up in Marvel because you see Tony Stark going back to Vietnam, so he'd be like 70 now? All these characters don't age.
Well, that was the thing they would do, is they would, reboots aren't a new thing. They would do that every decade or so in comics.
A hero for all seasons.
They would always
Right.
they would retell the origin story in most comics over and over again because they wanted to update it for the current readers.
Well, my theory now on James Bond, that's just a code name. Because how do you explain the guy fighting the commies,
Right.
and then you don't know?
That was
You don't have to.
that was
You
my.
don't have to explain anything.
It's the Dread
read
Pirate, the Dread Pirate Roberts theory.
Yeah.
It's just the title that scares people, but it's
Yeah.
because there was 28 Dread Pirate Roberts in The Princess Bride. And
Right.
James Bond is just a title. It's like, oh God, here comes James Bond. That's why it could be anybody.
I think so, because how do you explain the guys in the 50s, 60s, and then he's out fighting North Korea, now he's fighting these?
You
don't.
It's like Wonder Woman.
You
it's
just don't.
It's a title. It's a mantle. It's not
think-
specific to one character.
I think it's a good thing.
I used to be like that. I used to be like
over
everything
10
needs to
of
make sense, but
horrible.
now I'm just like, you don't have to. It's
You know
the
what I
reason
tell
is
my-
the reason. It's because they wrote them then.
What I tell myself
That's it.
is anal every time of having a comma, because I'm like that too. It's like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah,
Well, I'm still bothered by the movie The Hollywood Knights because they played Turn, Turn, Turn by the Birds. That came out the year after the movie. Setting is.
Well, now here's one.
Well, that's just continuity, mate.
Speaking of good old reboots, I was talking with my cousin Opie the other day, and I guess there's always that rumor that Kevin Smith wants to reboot Princess Bride. I think
Kevin Smith? Are
I
you
thought
sure?
it was Kevin Smith.
I
Somebody-
I haven't heard that. I know Clerks reboot just came
Well,
out.
yeah,
well-
somebody wanted to reboot The Princess Bride, and I think honestly they should be stopped.
I don't think that's going to happen because
It shouldn't.
There's not a single person who's in favor of that.
They should have a character.
But there is
I can think of
rumor.
a perfect character to add to it, though.
There's rumor, and when he said this, I was like, I could dig it. A Tank Girl reboot with Margot Robbie.
That's in the works. That is in the works.
I like
I
Tank Girl.
want that to happen. I was
I
a
did
huge
too,
fan
but,
of
like,
Tank
how
Girl.
many people saw that movie? Really?
I did.
Yeah, I mean,
Lori
I did,
Singer,
yeah,
right?
but-
Lori Singer, right?
No,
Lori Petty.
Lori Petty.
I'm a huge fan of
And the
Tank Girl
Heartbreakers.
and Lori Petty. I love Margot Robbie.
Yeah, that would
I
be
think
good.
it would be a great
Yeah.
fit, and I hope it explodes. I hope it's
You know,
awesome.
on that, I was thinking of
When
another
you get to
one.
see Ice-T as a kangaroo.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love that. But I was thinking of mixed genre films because somehow it popped in my head yesterday for some reason. Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
Oh, or Cowboys versus Aliens.
They're from
I
Dusk
never
Till
saw
Dawn.
that.
I never saw that.
I literally summed up the movie plot in the title.
Yeah,
Cowboys
yeah,
versus Aliens with Daniel Craig.
From
Right.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a good one because it just totally took you by surprise.
It was an action movie. Then all of a sudden, it had the big turn.
Right.
Yeah,
Please.
if you walked in there not knowing what the movie was, that it was a vampire movie, it would really, it would just.
The one that got ruined for me was The Keep because I read F. Paul Wilson's book. And it's about these Nazi shell soldiers who encounter basically a Dracula type character in Romania.
it's very strange.
And
It's a
then
good movie.
it turns out he's not. He's almost like an elder god thing.
Yeah.
But the movie with Scott Glenn, who looked like Iggy Pop in it, they made him like this monster.
Well, Scott Glenn was like kind of like this immortal hero or something.
Yeah.
Like he just
Highlander.
would show up places. Yeah, it was very strange. It was Vangelis did the music for it. Was it Vangelis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're onto this something though. I was going back for a second, like you're the ageless thing you were saying about, how could he be this old
Right.
or why? I mean, everybody's into continuity now as far as they want
Yeah.
everything to like be one big long storyline. Instead, I think we should kind of go back to just like, okay, like the Dark Knight. Joker just exists. You don't need to know who he is, why
yeah.
he's just.
Well, we
he's
really
just there.
don't.
That's
I
my
mean,
question. Why does everything have to have an origin story?
Well, Wolverine's a good example where they killed the character basically because they had to keep going, and the
Well,
mystery of him.
Yeah, Wolverine. Yeah, the Wolverine origin story that they finally did was so disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, and it was so paint by numbers. It's like, oh no, he was a sickly kid, and he wasn't really strong. And it's like, oh god,
Yeah, what other?
Take
What
the
other
idea of
tropes
the
could you throw
Grinch
in there?
in the Dr. Seuss book. Why was the Grinch like he was? Because he was. Maybe
Because he
his
was,
heart-
because he's
his
a creature
shoes were
called a
too
Grinch.
tight, or his,
Or-
because
look
I
at-
have not seen the Joker film. I don't know if anybody has.
I actually, oddly enough, I
did.
just saw it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Was he a toker? Was he a midnight smoker?
No.
Did he play his music "Loving in the Sun"?
You owe
He
them
was
$4.
one hell of a heck of a disturbed person. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Now,
he-
does it
he was a
depict
very
mental illness though in a
unfortunately-
bad way though, like that? Where
I'm
is it
sorry,
like,
what?
Does it sort of depict mental illness like in a bad way like that or anything?
No,
No.
you feel kind of bad for him because he's like he can't help doing
Right.
the stuff he does. So
And
he's kind of
therein lies
sympathetic.
my problem. He cannot be a sympathetic character
Yeah,
just for what he is.
Well, he ends
That-
up being that. In
That's
this
what
movie,
that's an issue for me.
And I admit the one thing I thought it was Scorsese's
I
film,
would
The King
say
of Comedy.
I would say if you have an issue with a movie and you haven't seen it, you should see it
Oh, I'm going
and then
to-
have an issue
So
with
no,
it.
did you like
I'll
it?
see it
though?
eventually.
I actually did. I was
Because
not. I was
I know
not.
you were on the fence about seeing it and everything. That's why I wondered.
I was prepared to not like it because I'm not a fan of Joaquin Phoenix. I never have been. He's one of those actors who I just don't get it. In the performances, I think that he's very good in. He's not the focus. I just don't think he has a compelling personality, and I can't stand the way he talks. He's very mumbly. But the concept they had for how this Joker becomes a Joker is original in my mind and kind of interesting. The film itself is getting applauded, I think, a little bit too heavily. I don't think it's the film itself. I don't think is incredibly original. I don't credit Todd Phillips for being some kind of genius. I just think he watched a lot of Scorsese movies and then kind of copied them.
Because almost doesn't De Niro almost play like the talks like Jerry Lewis character from King of Comedy when he's
Well, yeah, no, it's a cross. It is a cross between Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. It's just like he took Taxi Driver meets King of Comedy, and that's what the movie
They
is.
borrow from Killing Joke a little bit.
A little
with the
bit, but-
comedy,
yeah.
with him
But
being
see,
a failure.
in the Killing Joke, the idea is he believes he's so insane he can't be cured. He tells the thing about shining the flashlight. They're going to walk out of the building on it, but somebody will turn it off midway. But there is a comic book, a limited series about the Joker. One of the things is where he's a failed comic who can't support his wife.
Yeah,
and
that's the
everything.
Killing Joke.
Yeah, that's the Killing Joke.
That's the Killing Joke. That's what we're talking
Well, there's
about.
another one too, though. There's
Another one?
Yeah.
What's it?
I'll message you sometime if I find
Yeah,
I
it.
thought that was a really good. They did a good job on the animated.
And of course, Alan Moore
Killing
was
Joke.
unhappy with it as usual.
Yeah.
Alan Moore,
he takes the check though.
yeah, exactly. Alan Moore talks too much.
Well, there's
in
going
my
to be a
opinion.
Watchmen series now.
It's already on.
So
Yeah,
I was
already-
gonna say, I'm
it's already had
behind.
2 episodes.
I'm behind.
Then they
You
go-
know what Watchmen was?
I like it. It's
I might
not.
check it out.
Yeah.
Well,
it-
you know the origin of Watchmen, right? It was just going to be the old Carlton comic guys, and they fluffed up. So Alan Moore, it's all those guys like Blue Beetle and all these guys.
yeah,
but he
Rorschach
turned it
is a
into this.
question.
Yeah.
But the Watchmen is
Dr. Manhattan's Captain Adam. I know.
Yeah.
the show is basically the events of the comic book happened, and now it's 2019, and that's what it is. And this is what's happening now.
Oh, so it's a follow up almost.
It's a follow. It is.
Okay.
It's 100% a follow up, and it's based on the comics, not the movie, because the squid thing happened, and it's very obvious that the squid thing happened because it occasionally rains little squids. It's very
All right.
and there I like it so far because
Giant spider.
there's a lot of you don't there's a lot of mystery to it. You don't know you don't know it's going to take a while before you know what's actually really going on. There's a and it takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because it has the big undercurrent of this series is a race, and they start with the basically the Klan basically wiping out Tulsa in the 1930s.
Was Tricky Dick still the president?
No, there's another celebrity president though, but I'm not going to say who it is.
I don't want to even know.
But it's the same.
It's M. Night Shyamalan. It's the twist.
It's not the current celebrity president.
That brought a thought up to me every now and then. If you follow movies like we do, sometimes when you see the project as they first announced it, till finally years later when it comes out how different it was.
Oh God!
Because remember Watchmen, the genesis of that, Terry Gilliam, and there's a script somewhere. Because my friend, my ex-roommate in D.C. saw there was a script from this film somewhere, and they were going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger play Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Come in.
Hello.
Hey.
All right.
Yeah, that wouldn't have made.
And we're having, this is one of those where we're having cameos all over.
Yeah, but Schwarzenegger is Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
That would have gone over like
God
a
is
fart
real
church.
and he's Austrian would have been.
Well,
there,
remember one of the best unmade movies was Superman Lives with Nicolas Cage and
Oh my
Superman
God, yeah.
with John Peters. Kevin Smith, I guess, will sign the script. Fuck Tim Burton whenever he
That was the thing I was going to say. So he wanted to do this giant mechanical spider thing, and they finally got it into that Wild Wild West remake.
Yes. Oof.
And it was like,
yeah.
and it was like, it was like,
John Peters had a thing with giant spiders.
Yes, he did.
was
I don't know what
obsessed
the
with-
hell his
should
problem
have a
was.
thing
a
with
giant
dragons.
I mean, I thought that was an interesting concept.
Somebody has an
you know.
obsession with dragons.
I would have
and it's
dragons in every
really-
one of our
yeah.
shows here.
But
Yeah.
to explain that whole Superman in the black
Becoming
suit, you'd
just
have
as
to
bizarre.
go back all the way into the where he gets killed and all the other Supermans come around, and you'd have to get into a huge storyline about that.
I don't know what
Like
it was.
all
It
the
wasn't
Superman and-
it wasn't Saturday Night Live, but somebody mixed that Superman movie with Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh.
So they have Superman and Nicolas Cage as a drunk Superman.
And don't get me wrong, I like Nick Cage, but that would.
I think because Superman sort of is like, it's the whole idea. It's more, he's supposed to be a positive hero.
Right.
Yeah.
And not really have all this pathos.
Well,
and I
to
think
use
that's
the wrestling parlance, the white meat baby face, the all-American boy, even though he's an alien, the one that everybody should rally around. But then it becomes a question, you and I talked about this, Patrick. I can't get behind Superman because I know he's never in danger.
Yeah.
How can you root for somebody
Well,
that you know can't be hurt?
They had to manufacture weaknesses for him.
And he loses his powers every now and
Yeah,
then.
they had to manufacture weaknesses for him because they realized, there's no peril with this guy.
Oh, okay. So here, movie tropes.
Actually, Kryptonite was thought up on the radio show.
Oh, was
Really?
it?
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
I didn't
They-
Now
know
there's
they-
all kinds of colors, too. I've got
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They introduced that on the radio show, and Jimmy Olsen on the radio show, and then it's
And then
stuck.
yeah.
Did you ever see the Saturday Night Live skit about, because we'll think of our friend Steve, who's vanished in the nethers this time, where Superman fought for the Nazis, he's Uberman.
Yeah.
And he comes down, there's Michael Palin as Hitler, because a Python has to play Hitler. And he comes out, he's Jimmy Olsen. I Belgian. Superman comes down, looks with his X-ray vision, he's a Jew.
Well, let's go talk about a movie trope for a minute, especially I think in the old Superman TV shows and cartoons. Guy empties his gun at Superman, nothing happens. Why did they always throw the goddamn gun at him?
You got to try something.
Bad direction.
It's like he put 6 bullets bounced off this guy's chest. Oh, wait, I'll throw the handgun and hit him in the nose. Like, come on.
Well, probably just to
that's just
show
out of-
desperation.
Yeah, I think it's out of just sheer frustration.
Yeah.
And I think that was the problem in the old series, like The Adventures of Superman. You couldn't do anything to him, so you just had to get him so he distract him. So the one where he gets trapped in the bathysphere with Lois Lane,
Right.
because he can't. So he finally decides he can just pull it up.
Which still didn't make sense.
And you
'cause-
see the was it Kirk Allar, the first ones, the
Yeah.
serial?
Yep.
What did he fight? You remember those? What kind of bad guys did he fight?
Well, he fought Lex Luthor in the second one.
Wasn't there
and the
Superman
first
versus
one,
the Mole Man or something?
That's the George
Oh,
Reeve
okay,
one.
Yeah.
he fought this Spider Lady. This woman called the Spider Lady, and
That's
she
where
had
John
she was,
Peters got it from.
she was
There it
trying
is.
to steal this like some kind of machine that like stopped all the electronic things and it was gonna could stop trains and stop cars and fuck up trucks and I don't know. It was like some weird thing.
And then you had, of course, the stereotyped Oriental evil villain.
Oh boy,
you had tons of them.
Well, it was back in that day when
Yeah.
Because, Greg, if you had not seen this, Patrick and I saw Joel Hodgson's lead, No Retreat, No Surrender. So we're sitting there watching it. All of a sudden, there's the kid in it. He bounces a basketball.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it gets picked up by the oh-so-cool black kid who's a non-person.
Yeah, it's just the unfortunate 80s stereotype. And he comes in and his first line is, yeah. And then and Joel and the bots are like, no.
Oh, man.
It's
this movie. It had the ghost of Bruce Lee in it.
Yeah, the ghost of Bruce Lee trains a white kid how to do kung fu.
Shit, this movie has everything.
Oh
And
god,
the black kid has no personality. He's there to sort of be the fun, the cool foil.
He's the cool kid who has the funny one-liners and who facilitates you like, I know a guy. He
What
knows
is
all
this?
the guys.
No Retreat,
No
No
Retreat, No
Surrender.
Surrender.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a
Featuring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's first movie role.
Oh.
And he's in the very beginning and the very end. He has no lines, and his character's name is Ivan the Russian.
Makes sense.
And yeah, it's basically just a really horrible ripoff of Karate Kid.
Well, I guess that, John Amos quit Good Times because he got sick of the Jimmy J.J. Walker character because he thought it was just, that this one was the most popular.
Well, everyone was getting outshined by this kid who just came into the show, and it's like the Fonzie thing. It's just like this side character that all of a sudden became the most popular thing.
Yeah.
Urkel, all that happens a lot on these sitcoms that aren't that great to begin with.
Not even sitcoms, even like movies. Like look at Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket Raccoon. In the comics, they almost wrote him out because he was the most unpopular character in the team. Or in that series, I should say, because that's not the original Guardians.
No.
The rabbit is right.
What's a raccoon?
Yeah, and now all of a sudden he's the highest testing character in that franchise.
Right.
But he was almost written away.
I don't think that was an accident.
Definitely not.
That everything in that movie, I think, was.
But then they blow those kind of things when they have the interesting side character, but then they try to make him the focus.
Oh,
that's I think is a classic mistake. It's just like those characters. Yeah, when they become the focus, then their lack of substance becomes very clear.
Yeah. It's
no
wonder we laughed because he only said one thing at the right time, but now he has to carry
But
dialogue.
remember, the Fonz ended up killing one of Richie's brothers.
Oh, yeah, the one that ascended the stairs and never came back?
Well, he was played, I think, by 3 different actors, and he was only in the first season.
Yeah.
And then, the urban legend was that, he died in Vietnam.
Yeah,
and so they just never mentioned him again.
Yeah, he was killed in the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times the problem they have, too, is I'll give you the example of Fish, because they get the side character, but then they have to come up with a thing because they don't really have anything else on him. And they forget he's interesting because he just was the side character. He gets to say all the good lines and everything.
He had a spin-off show.
Yeah, for 2 seasons.
It wasn't very good.
It wasn't very good.
I'll tell you that, because I got from my mother the complete Barney Miller on DVD.
Oh,
that show was great.
And it included season 1 of Fish. Not both seasons, just season 1 of Fish.
Isn't it like they adopt a bunch of kids or something?
Something, yeah.
Yeah, it's let's have Abe Vigoda and a bunch of young kids.
Yeah. Oh God.
He did some voiceovers.
He was in The Godfather too.
Yes, he was.
And I can say Vigoda used to say, "I'm still alive," because there'd be reports every year he died.
Yes. Until he actually
And I have to say, we don't get political here, but I'm still waiting to see what Epstein's mom says. Anybody who's seen Welcome Back, Kotter will get the joke.
Epstein signed Epstein's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, this time I mean it.
That's, what happened though, when Ron Padillo died, they had something out. Mr. Cotter, Epstein can't come to school today. I'm really serious.
It was like Juan can't make it to school today, and this time it's for real. Yeah.
But you realize,
this
show, when we do Talking Shit, we could start at the beginning and do for decades, because we can go on and on for 15 hours.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
So
we probably will.
We could do several episodes just on 1930s, film noir.
Yeah.
and then let
We
alone
should do one
everything
on
else.
dragons and their importance in cinema.
No, you know what we should
Tragic
actually.
heroines.
The thing about dragons really don't
It's
have
my
a huge
show. I
importance
can
in
see what I
cinema.
want.
They really
No,
not in cinema.
And misunderstood heroines who, as I said, I
Heroin
figured it
is
out.
never misunderstood. We know what heroin does.
She was trying to evacuate the city. You don't see the flames touching the people or anything else.
No,
It's
what
my
I want to
show.
do.
I'm saying what I want.
What I want to
That's
do.
great.
What I want
If
to
you
do.
don't want people to listen to it, that's fine.
Eric, no, I think, and this is something I've always had a kind of a hatred for, is the Academy of Arts and whatever the hell they're called.
Science.
Films. Yeah,
Yeah.
those assholes. Let's look. You know, we could do a whole episode just on the quote-unquote best pictures and how badly they've screwed over.
Well, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
You guys
So many
give us. You
actors.
guys could pick out something you want to talk about, and we'll end up not talking. We'll go on a whole different angle, like we always do. But we'll
Well,
try
exactly.
to start.
Yeah, we could like pick one like broad trope, and then we could probably talk about it.
Oh,
and we'll end
God,
up talking
easily.
about something else. Of
Well,
course,
yeah.
it's always fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like the dumbest idea for a movie that actually we enjoyed, or
Yeah.
something.
Ooh, I've got a list.
I got a movie from a buddy of mine. He burned a bunch of these movies, and it was called World Without End. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
About the giant cockroaches and grasshoppers.
No,
and
it's
stuff.
like one of those Star Trek-y. It looked like a Star Trek film, TV show. It was like, okay, they're in this. It's George. What's his name? Not Robert Taylor.
George Papard.
Who was the guy that was in The Birds?
I just know Tippi Hedren was in it.
Yeah.
But the
The
male.
guy. Oh God, who was the guy?
The guy in the
Rod
Birds.
Taylor, I think.
Yeah,
is
Rod
his name.
Taylor.
Oh,
was
yeah,
Rod
okay.
Taylor.
So he's in this, and he's got like a sort of a British accent. So it's weird, but they're in this like spaceship, of course, with no space suits and no, they're just flying around through space.
Of course.
And they hit this anomaly thing, and they go. Basically, I guess they land in the future, and it's like there's these like deformed like cavemen guys, one eye type things. They're savages, and then there's a underground thing where a bunch of people and with the skull caps and the weird uniforms and you gotta watch this thing.
I think Greg is describing a dream he had once.
No, this is a real
It makes
movie.
me sad because I saw some of the Ray Harryhausen recently, and I thought the Cyclops
And they won't go up to the top because they're scared, and they make them come
radiation or
outside.
something. But I thought like the poor Cyclops there had a tutoring business, and he finally quit because he only ever got one pupil.
Okay.
But then we could talk stop motion. But that almost reminds me of a movie called DEFCON 5 that I saw that was really weird. It was almost like a post-nuclear where they come back from space. But we had all this stuff to go on. You guys bring up a topic
Oh my
next time.
God. I mean,
okay.
there's. Oh man.
But
there's
should we
just
do
so much.
plugs?
Yeah, plug stuff. Who got what?
D&D is coming. It might be up by the time this
Yeah,
comes
you know
out.
what? Yeah,
It's coming.
It'll
It's-
happen.
it's-
It may have happened depending on when I air
It's
this.
more complicated. Yeah.
And I keep my nose out.
It's
of
more
it.
complicated because apparently I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing, but
You
I
heard it
admit
here first.
And Patrick, what's coming up for you? Of course, might as well say it
Ruslana
again.
and Yelena.
You pronounced it right this time. Yeah.
I pronounce it right every time.
I don't.
Ruslana and Yelena, modern day Russian Revolution at the MuCCC. The first weekend of December. Go to dvctheater.org, I think.
Yes,
Right.
It's either
I've been
or
looking up the
com.
dates. 'Cause
And or MuCC or
And we will-
MuCCC.
links
we will
below.
probably be down there talking to all of you after rehearsal.
Yeah, at
before
some
rehearsal.
point we're gonna come
At
down.
some point.
Greg, what do you
And
got?
Greg, what's going on?
What
for
I
the-
got? Well, I had stuff last night. For any of you guys that are listening, no. Listening
Neil, you
last
playing
week.
the Neil Young thing with Brian?
No, I'm not doing that one. That was mostly that's for him. He just does that by himself.
I'm not. It's one of those. It is what it is.
But my birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Hey!
But
Are you 33?
I got. I wish. Let's see. What else is? I got a couple things coming up, but I can't think of them at the moment. A couple happy hour gigs here and there, and Abilene, I think, and.
The life of a working
Murphs.
musician, all over.
Yeah.
And we got to organize our next drum gig on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can find some drummers that are sober them up, get them away from the farm animals.
That can
get 'em
actually
out.
talk.
Oh Lord.
I want Animal from the Muppet Show.
All right, get the Jewel cup ready.
Oh.
But
And now that we've insulted drummers
Yeah.
again,
Hey, I'm up for it.
And I have one thing, of course, it has nothing to do with this podcast, but I was talking to a band of mine I know, The Well, and they put a new album out, Death and Consolation. They're actually very good. And I suppose it fits. We're going to play a song called Raven from it and check them out there. Very good. And somehow try to figure out how they went into what the heck we talked about.
I'm sure there's a way. We talked about pretty much everything.
Yeah. And for all you guys, Greg, Pat, Zach,
Yo!
until the next talking shit.
Yeah.
Until
And
next
who
time.
knows what we'll go talk about.
But it'll be shit.
Bring me the dog-like creature.
See ya.